It is the digital age's most painful mystery. One day, you're staring at your phone, smiling because the person you're dating just sent a "good morning" text that actually felt sincere. You've had 3 great dates. The chemistry is undeniable. You're already doing that thing we all do, mentally checking their schedule for next weekend, wondering if they've told their friends about you, and maybe even picturing what a holiday with them might look like. And then, without warning, the silence begins. The 3 dots disappear. The blue bubbles turn to gray stone. The seen receipt feels like a physical punch to the gut. You go from potential soulmate to missing person in 48 hours. Why does this happen? Was it something you said? Did they get back with their ex? Did they fall off a cliff? Today, we are peeling back the curtain on the psychology of the sudden disappearing act. We're moving past the clichés and looking at the neurobiology, the attachment styles, and the uncomfortable truths about modern dating culture. To understand why he disappeared, we first have to look at the brain. When we meet someone new and exciting, our brains are under the influence of a potent neurochemical cocktail consisting of dopamine, testosterone, and norepinephrine. For many, the initial phase of dating is a biological hunt. The brain rewards the pursuit of something new with massive hits of dopamine. Every text back from you was a hit. However, some people are addicted to the start of things, not the substance of things. Once the chase feels won, once he knows he has your interest, the dopamine levels naturally begin to stabilize. For a secure person, this is where intimacy begins. But for someone seeking a high, this stabilization feels like losing the spark. He didn't necessarily stop liking you, he stopped feeling the rush. And because he lacks emotional maturity, he mistakes the end of the rush for the end of the connection. He leaves because he is chasing a chemical peak that no human being can sustain forever. When we talk about this disappearance, we have to look at the psychological archetypes of the vanisher. The most common culprit is the dismissive-avoidant. In attachment theory, an avoidant individual prizes independence above all else. Often, he disappears right after a date that went too well. If you opened up or shared a moment of genuine vulnerability, his deactivation system kicked in. To him, intimacy feels like a loss of freedom or a threat to his safety. He disappears not because he doesn't like you, but because the fact that he likes you scares him. He perceives the growing bond as a cage, and his subconscious mind screams at him to run before he gets trapped or hurt. This isn't a conscious choice to be cruel. It's a survival mechanism learned in childhood that says, closeness is dangerous. Then there is the validation seeker. This person is dating to fix a hole in his own self-esteem. He needs to know he still has it. Once he confirms that a high-value person like you is interested, his mission is accomplished. He has his ego stroke for the month, and he moves on to the next person to get another dose. You weren't a partner to him. You were a mirror reflecting a version of himself he liked. He wasn't looking for a connection. He was looking for a trophy to prove his worth. Once the trophy is on the shelf and the thrill of the win fades, he goes looking for the next competition. We also have to discuss the future hopper. Have you ever met someone who talks about taking you to a wedding in 6 months on the second date? This is often called future faking. Usually, he isn't lying to you, he's lying to himself. He loves the idea of a relationship, but he lacks the daily discipline to maintain one. When the reality of Tuesday nights and compromise replaces the Saturday night fantasy, he evaporates. One of the hardest parts of being ghosted is the feeling of being gaslit by your own memories. You think about how he looked you in the eyes and told you he'd never met anyone like you. you have to remember that intensity is not intimacy. Intensity is a firework, bright, loud, and over in seconds. Intimacy is a slow-burning hearth. If he disappeared suddenly, it's often because he built a skyscraper of expectations on a foundation of sand. When the first wind of real life blew through, the whole structure collapsed because there was no substance holding it up. Modern dating culture also plays a massive role through the paradox of choice. When we are presented with too many options on dating apps, we become less satisfied with the choice we actually make. This leads to a disposable mindset. Because he didn't meet you through a mutual friend or a shared community, there is zero social cost to disappearing. In his mind, you exist only in his phone. When he deletes the thread, he feels he has deleted the obligation. It is a cowardly way to handle the situation, but in a world of infinite swipes, many people have replaced character with convenience. They think there is always a 95% person just one swipe away from your 90%. They are professional optimizers who end up alone because they cannot appreciate the beauty of the person standing right in front of them. Let's talk about the slow fade versus the sudden stop. The sudden stop is often about an internal crisis or a sudden change in his life that he doesn't want to explain. Maybe an ex-girlfriend reappeared and he chose the path of least resistance. Maybe he realized he isn't over a past trauma and instead of being honest, he shuts down. The slow fade, however, is a gradual withdrawal of energy. It's the late replies, the canceled plans without rescheduling, and the vague excuses. Both lead to the same destination: silence. But both stem from a fundamental lack of respect for your time and emotions. Now we have to address the hard truth. Sometimes people disappear because of a genuine mismatch that they don't know how to articulate. Perhaps the pacing was off and he felt pressured. Or perhaps a boundary was crossed that he viewed as a deal breaker. Instead of having the difficult, mature conversation required to end things respectfully, he took the path of least resistance. But listen closely. Even if there was a reason for his loss of interest, his method of exit is a reflection of his character, not your worth. A high-value man says he doesn't think you're a match. A man of low emotional integrity simply stops existing. You are looking for a partner who stays when things get real, not someone who vanishes at the first sign of discomfort or the first dip in excitement. So, how do you process the silence? First, you must stop the digital autopsy. Stop scrolling back through old texts looking for the exact moment the tone shifted. You are looking for logic in an illogical act. The why is in his head, and you don't live there. You have to close the loop yourself. The most painful part of ghosting is the lack of closure, but you cannot wait for him to give you the final chapter. Write it yourself. The ending is simply that he was not capable of the level of communication you require, and therefore, he is not your person. Follow the 48-hour rule. If he hasn't responded to a direct question in 2 days, he has given you an answer. Silence is not a vacuum. It is a very loud message that says he does not value your peace of mind over his own convenience. There is also a high probability of the rubber band effect. When the dopamine seeker gets bored, or the avoidant feels safe again because you've stopped chasing him, he will likely reappear. This is often called submarining or zombieing. He will send a, "Hey," text at 11 p.m. 3 months from now as if nothing happened. He isn't coming back because he realized your worth. He's coming back because his other options dried up and he remembers you were a reliable source of validation. If you let him back in without a massive change in behavior and a real apology, you are teaching him that your boundaries are negotiable. You are teaching him that he can leave and enter your life whenever he chooses. We must also analyze the role of breadcrumbing. This is when he doesn't fully disappear, but he gives you just enough attention to keep you on the hook. A like on an Instagram story here, a vague text there, but never a commitment to a date. This is the ultimate form of emotional manipulation, often subconscious. He is keeping you in his waiting room just in case his primary plans don't work out. If you are being breadcrumbed, you are being treated as an option, not a priority. The moment you stop responding to the crumbs, he will either disappear completely or suddenly increase the dosage to keep you interested. Don't fall for the spike in attention. Look at the consistency. Consistency is the only true measure of interest. Another reason for the sudden disappearance is the idealization and devaluation cycle. This is common in individuals with narcissistic traits or high conflict personalities. They put you on a pedestal initially, showering you with praise and attention. You feel like the center of their universe. But the moment you show a human flaw, or the moment you demand a basic level of accountability, they devalue you. They go from seeing you as perfect to seeing you as the problem. The disappearance is their way of punishing you, or simply discarding something they no longer find perfect. It is a jarring experience, but it is a massive bullet dodged. Consider the situationship trap. Often, a man disappears because the arrangement started to feel too much like a relationship. If you were hanging out, having intimacy, and acting like a couple without the label, the moment the label becomes an unspoken pressure, he flees. He wants the benefits of a partnership without the responsibility of one. When the check for that responsibility finally comes to the table, he slips out the back door. This is why setting boundaries and defining the relationship early is a filter. It scares away the people who were never planning to stay. To heal from this, you need to engage in what psychologists call radical acceptance. This means accepting the reality of the situation without trying to change it or judge it. He is gone. That is the reality. It doesn't matter if he's a good guy deep down or if he just has a lot going on at work. If he wanted to be there, he would be. People make time for what they value. If you are making excuses for his absence, you are essentially ghosting yourself. You are ignoring your own needs and your own reality to protect the image of someone who didn't protect your feelings. Reclaiming your power starts with your own self-narrative. Instead of asking, "What is wrong with me that he left?" ask, "What is wrong with a man who thinks it is acceptable to treat a person this way?" Shift the focus from your perceived inadequacy to his demonstrated inadequacy. Character is revealed in how someone ends things, not how they start them. Anyone can be charming over a cocktail on a Friday night. Not everyone can be a man of integrity when a connection loses its novelty. At the end of the day, someone disappearing isn't a reflection of your unlovability. It is a reflection of their emotional capacity. You are a person, not a temporary distraction. If he disappeared, he didn't get away. He moved out of the way. He cleared the space so that someone with the maturity to appreciate you can actually sit at your table. Don't waste your energy trying to solve the puzzle of a man who decided to be a ghost. Real love requires presence, and if he isn't present, he isn't the one. You deserve someone who is certain about you, even when the dopamine fades and the real work begins. Think about the concept of cognitive dissonance. This is the mental discomfort you feel when you have two conflicting beliefs. Belief A: he was so kind and we had a great connection. Belief B: he disappeared without a word. You try to reconcile these by making up excuses. He's busy, he's scared, he lost his phone. But the only way to resolve the dissonance is to accept that belief B is the most recent and most accurate data point. Who he is now is the person who left. That is his current truth. The person from 2 weeks ago was a version of him that he can no longer sustain. Furthermore, let's look at the investment gap. Often, we stay attached to someone who disappeared because of the sunk cost fallacy. We've invested 3 months or 6 months, or even just 3 really intense weeks, and we don't want that investment to go to waste. We feel that if we just wait a little longer or send one more perfect text, we can fix the investment. But you cannot fix a connection where the other person has withdrawn their participation. Love is a co-authored book. If he stopped writing his chapters, you're just staring at blank pages. We must also touch upon the social media effect. In the past, if someone disappeared, they were just gone. Now, they are haunting you. You see them post a story at a bar or like a photo of a mutual friend. This creates a false sense of proximity. You think, well, he's on his phone, why isn't he texting me? This is the most toxic part of modern ghosting. It forces you to watch them live a life that doesn't include you. The solution is simple but hard. Mute, block, delete. You cannot heal in the same environment that made you sick. You cannot move on if you are constantly monitoring the life of someone who chose to leave yours. Let's discuss the shadow work of this experience. Sometimes we are repeatedly attracted to vanishers because they mirror a pattern from our past. If you had an emotionally unavailable parent, a man who disappears might feel familiarly painful. Your subconscious is trying to win the situation this time around to heal the old wound. But you cannot heal a childhood wound by re-traumatizing yourself in the present. Breaking the cycle means choosing people who are consistent, even if consistency feels a little boring compared to the high-stakes drama of the vanisher. As we conclude this deep dive, remember that your silence is your most powerful tool. When someone ghosts you, they expect you to either chase them, which validates their ego, or lash out, which justifies their decision to leave. When you respond with silence, when you simply move on and live your best life, you regain your power. You show them that your life is a moving train and they've just missed their stop. There are no U-turns for people who jump off. Protect your peace, stop checking his social media, and remember that your value is inherent, regardless of who has the sense to see it. You are the prize. The person who forgets that doesn't deserve the chase. You are building a life of substance, and substance acts as a natural repellent for those who only want the surface. The next time you see that seen receipt with no reply, take a deep breath, put the phone down, and walk toward the people who actually show up. They are the ones who matter. I've seen so many people lose their confidence over a gray text bubble. Don't let a person who doesn't know what they want make you doubt what you deserve. The world is full of people who are ready for a real connection. By letting go of the ghost, you are finally making yourself available for the human being who is actually looking for you. Stay strong, stay grounded, and keep your standards high. The right person will never make you wonder if you've been forgotten. They will make sure you know exactly where you stand every single day. This journey isn't easy, but every time you choose yourself over a ghost, you grow stronger. You are teaching the world how to treat you. You are setting the bar. And believe me, when the right person comes along, they won't just meet that bar, they will be grateful that you held it so high. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.